right? If we go sell right now, our current rate is 2.5%. We're going to get something 7%. That doesn't make sense for us. How many of you are hearing an objection like that? Put a yes or no in the chat. That was one of the most common ones that came in the thing. Next one, if I sell, where am I going? If I sell, where am I going? If I sell, where am I going? And then number 3, they want to price it too high. They want to overprice it. They want to overprice it. My house is worth $750. I know my neighbors sold for $525. My house is worth $750. Those were the 3 most. There were others in there too, like commission. If I would have brought that up, people are arguing, objecting to commission. That's always been there. But these are the 3 most common. If you are getting the objection and struggling with it right now, I want you to raise your hand. If you're getting the we can't sell because our rate's too low objection, and you kind of struggle with that one, you kind of don't know what to say, would you be vulnerable and raise your hand? I'm not going to ask you to do anything that would not work for you. I'm not going to embarrass anybody. But if that's an objection you're hearing and you're struggling to overcome it. Okay, Valerie, you're hearing this objection. Is that right? Valerie?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm putting everybody's hand down. Now, if you put in there, hey, I got this objection. I can overcome this objection. This is one that I got it. I've helped people overcome this. I've got a great objection handler for it. Would you raise your hand? All right. So Renee, we're going to add Renee to the spotlight. And this is what we're going to do just back and forth today. We're going to do a couple of these. So Valerie, you are going to give the objection. Renee, you're going to overcome the objection. And then here's what we do. Valerie will give Renee some feedback. And Valerie, we always give her one thing she did well before we share an opportunity. And then we'll open it up. Renee, you'll share what you did well and what you can do to get better. And then we'll open it up for a couple of people in the group. Make sense? And we're just going to go through. We have 6 objections we're going to do. And that's the entire call today. Are you ready? Valerie, give your objection.
Well, Renee, if I sell my house, I'm going to lose that 2.99% interest rate that I've got. And, I'm going to buy a house at 7%.
Well, what if I said you wouldn't have to lose that rate? What if I said you could actually keep that rate and make that rate work for you? Would you be interested?
Yeah. How can I do that?
Okay. So I know that you have thought about the fact that you would at some point like to retire, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what if I say you can keep the rate and work towards retirement at the same time? So what I've had clients do and what I've experienced firsthand is that we have, with these superficially low rates, we have created a whole generation of investors who were not intending to be investors. Have you ever thought about being a real estate investor?
Off and on, yeah.
Okay. Well, you just got the first step in. You got the opportunity of a lifetime. The bank gave you free money, basically. And so you have this house now that you can now keep as a rental. Now, here's an opportunity that I'm going to reach out to you and ask your lender about, or ask you to ask your lender about. Have you heard of a HELOC?
Yeah.
Okay, so you take your home equity line of credit. You can actually take out, because you've owned this house, it looks like for 3.5 years. I ran the numbers before we met. It looks like you have about $250,000 in equity. Take what you need for the down payment or a little extra. Take and put that on the new house, purchase the new house with that. And then you've got the passive income. And if you show the rental rate of what you'll bring that in, your lender can help you qualify to buy the second house. You keep the first house, it helps pay that mortgage, the HELOC, and part of your new payment. Does that sound good?
Are those numbers going to work?
They actually do, because of where the interest rates are. Now, this is where I'm going to say, I want you to meet with the lender, and we're going to sit down and we're going to run the numbers. Depending on which house you buy, you can actually work that into, and then when the interest rates drop in 6 months, 12 months, then we refinance your new house and drop that interest rate. And then you've got 2, one at a super low rate, and one at a decent rate that you can live with.
All right, we're going to stop right there. We're going to stop right there. Give her some applause, please. Give her some applause. Valerie, how'd that feel? How'd that conversation feel?
Wow, I was actually stunned. I was quite surprised.
What's something she did really well, Val?
Ask questions. she she led me in and had me sort of, discover this myself.
What could she do better?
Maybe not tease it out quite so long.
Don't say blah, blah, blah when blah.
I like suspense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that
I concur.
I like it. Okay. Renee, what'd you do really well?
I think we covered what can be a rather hard thing to discuss for people to grasp. A couple of things: HELOC and buying the new property and visualization. But
And
you're
what
right.
can you do better?
I speed it along.
Yeah. Well, that's a tendency for you anyway. So that's just an area of practice for you, no doubt. I love the concept. So I love you shared a concept with her that opened her eyes to something. That's one thing I love. One thing I would change: let's stop saying when rates drop and start saying if rates drop, because we don't know when they're going to drop. So you also put a time frame on it. When rates drop in 6 months, Renee, you don't have the slightest idea if or when rates are going to drop. Let's quit saying. In fact, I would like for us all to agree that we're going to quit saying marry the house and date the rate. I think that's dumb, and I think it sets up a false opportunity for a potential buyer and seller. But we could say things like, hey, and if rates drop, which traditionally rates move around, right, you have the opportunity to refi. That would just be my advice. Ian, I think you have your hand up to give feedback. What's one thing she did well, and then what can she do to get better?
Well, one thing she can do to get better is explain that when you
No,
buy
you got to
your
give her
home,
something she did well first, Ian. That's
the
the
whole
rule.
thing was great.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. Okay.
But you got to explain that when you buy your new home, you're not buying a secondary house either. So you get a primary rate. So it's you get the lower rate. I'm doing this myself, and my new house is going to cost me about $200 more a month for a $650,000 house.
Yeah. Yeah. So walking through and explaining it, our job is to provide perspective. So I like it. Ian, thank you. Renee, thank you. Give it up again for Renee for being willing to share. That's awesome. I love that. Valerie, thank you for raising your hand.